Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm
That
Chip.
wasn't supposed to be there.
Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it is a Freaky Friday in the rib.
Hey, before we go anywhere, moments before we open the show, I received this delivered by Amazon. It is a neon yellow shirt, which says, Paul must go. And on the back, it says, recall Paul. Don't know who sent it to me because I didn't buy it, but it's already starting. And the city council, after the 2 press conferences, the city is coming out in support of the city council.
Yeah,
and this is what the recall. Imagine that.
Well, hey, listen, there's always a straw that broke the camel's back. In this case, it was a big giant straw called Paul.
Yeah,
That was it. That was it. We didn't need it. That was really good. And hello, everybody. And the Cougs is upset. He said that he doesn't want to be threatened. They won't pass anything. They won't.
Right.
They won't give me my school. They won't give me my pay raises that I put in for people. And because I changed the title and give them a $20,000 raise. Well, Paul, I hate to tell you this, but your team invented this.
That's right.
Because remember, you said you're going to be on the team. And your team, if they don't get their way, doesn't pay anybody. They won't vote for things. They're keeping TSA people without salaries. They're keeping people without salaries to hold them hostage because they don't care.
That's all he ever does is deflect. That's why he brought up the school. Plucking the emotional strings of people. Oh, the kids. I want my school. Oh, they won't give me my school. They won't approve my appointments. They won't approve my transitions. They won't approve my transfers. The city will come to complete halt. We'll die. Florida will die because the city council won't do what I want them to do.
Or abdicate their authority, which
That's
is
right.
what them to do. And I guess then Cliff Ponte had a press conference and said
he always lies.
Yeah, well,
he's a perpetual liar. That's the problem. He lied in this press conference today.
Yeah.
And did you notice he said that he texted the attorney general? And she said she'll look into it next week because she's swamped today, making it look like he's on a first-name basis with them and they're best buds.
Yeah, well, I filed a complaint with the AG 2 weeks ago, and I'm still waiting for a response. I did get a response from the IG, but the AG, their office isn't too quick on doing anything, especially for the people. But listen, Coogan's team routinely makes these stupid things like we're not going to fund TSA. We're not going to fund anything until you guys defund ICE because we want to keep illegals. So listen, this is all horseshit. And shame on the city council. I know that Cliff had said, I'm doing it as a private citizen. No, the city council has a right. Wait a minute. Doesn't the legislative body in Washington have investigations all the time?
All the time.
They're investigating right now. They just had Hillary in. They had
the Epstein file.
They have everybody in.
Right.
They do investigations all the time. And you got runaway Rumsey trying to say, oh, you can't do that. You can't do this. Listen, get him off the damn screen. He's a lawyer. And he's a lawyer who fashions opinions only for the city council. Not for the city council. I apologize. Only for Paul Coogan. And
That's right.
An opinion. It's an opinion. let's get that straight.
And opinions are like assholes.
Right.
Everybody has one, and they all stink.
But some of them work better than others. They have better anal sphincters. So the problem is that Paul Coogan is an anal sphincter, but he was not rejected. I don't believe. I think he actually was on a state plea. He didn't make it through the academy, as do many people.
Call from the Jenkins Patrick.
And like I said, listen, Paul never tells the truth. At best, he tells a half truth or a manipulation. This is outrageous. Listen, Paul Coogan is now out in front of a camera saying, I run this city. I do anything I want. If you don't do it, you don't have any rights. We have that's a separate branch of government. They have the right to do whatever they want. They don't have the cojones sometimes. That's not true. That's not true. Who made that rule? Where's that rule, James? Where's that rule?
Right.
The city council can have an investigation if they want to have an investigation. They got a legislative body, but they don't want to make. See,
and remember, James, Dunphy uses any law that works for the mayor. He keeps thinking we have a Type A charter. He needs to get his head out of his ass. So does the mayor. We are no longer a Type A charter. We're a home rule charter, as you said. Okay? And as a matter of fact, several charter commissioners now want to step forward in support of the city council. Imagine that.
Of course you're going to support. Yet, listen, we have autonomy here between the branches of government. You can't restrict them. And the city council's making this big deal, an investigation. Well, okay, let's investigate. Maybe we do need an investigation based on some of these allegations. However, they don't want, he says he can give her a contract, and he can. He can sign a contract. But if they don't fund it,
he's out of luck.
It doesn't work.
That's right.
So everybody forgets that. This is two separate entities. An investigation about the allegations of what happened on the Fall River Police Department and how the warrant was secured is a completely separate issue from the fact that they are an independent legislative body and they can do this if they want. And that's what they should be pushing. And now they're going to raise money and, blah, 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 to get themselves a lawyer. Well, okay, get yourself a lawyer. How many shows ago did I tell you that I talked to one of the most influential and best lawyers in the United States, who's now out of the country on vacation because I'm pissed. I called him up, and he's a good friend of mine, who said, how many instances has he told us, CJ, when we talked, that all they have to do is sue him, to litigate it. If the city council allows the mayor to have a dump on him every time they don't do what he tells them to do, that's their fault. Because when he violates the law, you have to hold him accountable. Just like when they told, we weren't even a legislative body, we were a union. When they told us we were out of money, and I said, no, we're not. Oh, yes, you are. We did an audit, and I said, I don't trust the audit. Well, we did an investigation, and we found that they did have our money. Not once, but twice. And we got all the money back plus interest. So this is horse shit, okay? Paul Coogan, learn that there's another $20,000 pay raise. We'll have more information about that. He just gave somebody a $20,000 pay raise because all they did was change, and I think it's going to go down to the council at some point. So be aware. We will talk about that next week. $20,000 pay raise by just changing the name of what he does from like supervisor to director or something like that. So Paul is doing what we said. This is his last term. He's given out 15 pay raises. He's going to give everybody on the planet a pay raise. And now that the council is going, oh, wait a minute, maybe they should not approve anything. They should not fund anything until they investigate the funding sources.
That's what I say.
They think that because they are department heads and not parts of labor unions, they can circumvent the law. And they can say, he can give a contract. Yeah, he can sign a contract. Well, every contract I negotiated with the city of Fall River was, and here's one right here. Here's one right here. And lo and behold, when you turn to the back, you turn to the back page, it's signed by the mayor. And the bargaining unit.
We don't do that anymore, though. We only do memorandums of understanding.
Well, that's,
memorandums of agreement. We don't write new contracts because it takes too much work for the union president and the mayor. Too much work.
They have...
Nobody wants to do their fucking job.
Well, they're doing it because they're circumventing a lot of collective bargaining laws and they're making deals. So that's, but that's on them. But this is horse manure. He agreed. We came to an agreement. That agreement that's signed by, it's one of the ones I did. I always keep a copy around. Signed by the union and its bargaining committee and our attorney and the mayor and the corporation council for form only. Was an agreement between those two parties as designated by law. But we wouldn't have had a contract if the city council didn't fund it. And that happened in Attleboro, and they had to go back to the bargaining table. This horse shit of, he has the absolute right to come up with an appropriation. Yeah, he has to have an appropriate. He has to say how he's going to fund anything he agrees with. But the council is not bound by any law, not even the law of Rumsey, who thinks he doesn't even know what charter. James, I think you went to a better law school. I've always contended, and I truly believe that when I see some of the lawyers that work in the city of Fall River, that they give the bar exam in Massachusetts in crayon. I really
don't insult Crayola that way.
Yeah. I swear to God, they give it in crayon because these people, like I said, he doesn't even know. Dan Robillard, who was the sole dissenting opinion on this, who was an elected charter commissioner, said the charter clearly states that all appointments have to be approved by the city council. That's the charter. And the charter is our constitution, fundamentally.
Hey, we got somebody here.
It is the right thing to do, and I have an attorney who's out of the country right now who will give you some information on it. He's one of the most prestigious attorneys around, and you have every right to do what you do. You're a separate legislative body. He can't tell you what you can and can't do. You can't.
I like the way Paul made you look bad by saying they're going to use the money allocated for the audit that's required by law to fund their legal battle.
You mean the city audit that's required by law that they testified under oath the 2 times I sued the city that they didn't do an audit. They just did a reconciliation and
that audit.
Oh, that audit. Oh, yeah,
and the same audit. And the worst part about it is The same company keeps doing the audit.
Listen.
Sorry to say this, Cliff, but the city council doesn't have the balls to get a new auditor.
Well, yeah. Well, listen, let me tell you something. He can't tell you what to do, and you can't negotiate a contract. That's not in your lane. You can appropriate a contract. You can decide not to appropriate or fund, and that's in the statute. That's in the statute. That's clear. It's clear. There's no doubt about that. That is clear. You are a legislative branch. You are a fiduciary. You appropriate money. As I said, if you go to 150E, and I don't want Rumsey to go, oh, it doesn't apply. That's the collective bargaining agreement for union. It is. But it buttresses that fact. It doesn't quote the part about governmental power, which it also says that you guys have to appropriate money. And even if they change the budget in midstream, it still has to go before you. There's a whole bunch of case precedents on this. But 150E Section 7, which I know fundamentally verbatim, clearly states that within 30 days of an execution of a contract, it's got to go before the appropriate body, not the mayor. He's not the appropriate body. He's the one, the executive branch, who negotiates with people. Comes to there, then he sends down his appropriation numbers. Then you have a right to accept or reject that. If you reject it, it's done. Even though they have binding, he has to present it to the council. Attleboro did that once, and a few other places have done that. Attleboro, I think, was the last one to do it. They went before the council. They went into JLMC. Attleboro City Council said, no, we're not going to fund it. That's what's it. Even though the mayor signed it, even though the Attleboro firefighters signed it, contract null and void. See you later. No money. Bye. That's buttressing the law that there are two separate branches. There are two separate branches. You're the legislative body. You have the fiduciary responsibility of appropriating the taxpayers' money. And this is absurd. What he's doing is being like a spoiled child. He wants to give everybody he knows a pay raise on his way out, and he's going to slide that other one in. I forgot the name of it. It was leaked to me. Changed the name from something to director, and it went from $100,000 to $120,000. Another $20,000 pay raise. What is that negotiation? Was it a gift? Is there a change in what he does? Did they expand the duties and responsibilities? Probably not. And I'll give you a little collective bargaining class here. You can't demand extra money if you have what is called a de minimis change. In other words, it's not that big a deal. You got to put an extra line at the end of a sentence. You can't demand a $20,000 pay raise. You're not going to win that when you litigate it. And I've done a lot of litigation with this stuff. This is outrageous. You can't negotiate a contract. It's your job to fund it. He can't tell you and mandate the funds. He just can't say, I'm going to give the funds out. You can't give the funds. You're the executive branch, you freaking moron. I mean, this is crazy. This is just crazy. I had a conversation the other day with somebody that said, in all the years they've been in Fall River, and they have been intimately involved in government in Fall River and observers in Fall River, they have never seen this city in the mess it's in now because of Coogan. For 6 years, he's done absolutely nothing. Investigation? You can't say investigation of Paul Coogan. Investigate Malone. No. I'm not investigating him. I'm not investigating anybody. I'm just going to let them out the door with their pensions, or let them out without litigation, because they might rat something out that I did. I don't know why.
He's a member of the club.
But there's no transparency, no accountability in this city, and it hasn't been since he set foot in that office. And it's up to the council to hold him accountable now. Stop doing. No, listen, that's part of the game. Paul Coogan's complaining about exactly what his party does. What have they done in Washington? You want to pay ICE. We don't like ICE. We want it abolished, so we're not going to pay anybody. We're going to hold everybody hostage. But now they caved a little bit, the Senate, now the House, and they bounce it around. It's terrible to use people as pawns. But the reality is this is all about Paul Coogan and him being he wants to be an absolute dictator. And he's offended because you said, well, if you're not gonna uphold your word, which frankly I'm very disappointed that anybody would ever take Paul Coogan's word after 6 years of never keeping his word. Why? At this point in time, you would still be surprised that he made you a promise that he didn't keep. It's like, yeah, I'm going to change the form of government. Where's that? I'm going to change it to civil service. Nobody checked to see if he called for a test. Immediately after he made that commitment, there should have been a request sent to civil service to have an exam.
But then I wouldn't be able to put my girlfriend into the position of chief.
And frankly, to give it statewide, you might as well just get a contract chief. And you want my opinion? And it's an opinion. Civil service, at least you have to take a test and pass it. But if you're going to open it up to the whole state, you might as well just bring an outside chief in and put him on the contract. That way you could get rid of him if he doesn't do the job a lot more quickly, because once they come into a civil service position, now they have sections 41 through 45 when they're terminated. It's a very long and protracted and extensive way to get rid of them. And the good thing about that is you can't get rid of somebody who's doing their job because you don't like them if they're doing a good job. But you have to have cause to do it, not just I don't like the guy politically. So, but everything has its own merit. But at least with a civil service exam, you have to compete. You have to take it there. Well, a classic example of that is how do we separate politics from civil service? Mike Coogan, Paul's brother, he couldn't make captain. He couldn't test his way to captain. He couldn't get a high enough mark to make the rank of captain. So he kissed the mayor's ass. They went to contract, and he became the fire chief. Jumped over district chief, deputy chief, chief of the department, 145 people, seniority, testing, and everything. Guy that couldn't be a captain thought he could be in charge of it. He lasted 13 days. Read the letter I wrote to the Herald News. This is the problem. No accountability at all. No accountability. At least in civil service, you have to be at least smart enough to pass an exam and get in the top 3. So you guys wanted process. Well, the process is they negotiate, you appropriate. What do we used to say? What do we always say? The mayor proposes.
The city council disposes.
Oh, that's right. Wait a minute. Paul forgot. Wait a minute. He's a vice principal.
That's right. He's just a vice principal.
Know that? Come on. You expect him to know that?
He never taught a class. He was a school adjustment counselor. So.
Yeah, no, but this is crazy. And you got to stand up. This is it. I mean, this city is going to go in the toilet. And the corporation council is not his personal corporation council. Get rid of the law department. Defund the law department. Make hire on an unnecessary. Keep one lawyer to handle potholes. And everybody, we don't need a law department. They keep hiring more and more lawyers to do what? Have we ever litigated with our lawyers any? Well, Cliff is watching. I don't know who else. Give me one case that the city of Fall River has ever used our attorneys, our great law department, to litigate. I've been doing this for a long time. I have never seen a major case in the city of Fall River litigated by the Fall River Law Department. They farm it out. So we pay for them to come down to the city council and lie to the council. Oh, you have to do this. My interpretation is that. Oh, I'm working for the mayor. That's right. Yeah, pathological, not perpetually, but that's enough. We can have another P. The perpetual pathological prevaricator, Paul. So we can get 4 in that thing. But I mean, this is nuts. I'm sorry, this is nuts. I was talking, like I said, to somebody that said they've never seen a city this bad. They've never seen such a total disregard for process and separation of the powers. And the reality is in government, maybe they don't teach civics anymore. They should. It's not
Paul
about,
obviously never took it.
Yeah. Well, he never took anything except a paycheck. But
that's right.
But it's not about holding hands and singing Kumbaya. We have a tripartite system of government on the federal government. The law, that we don't have really a judicial department on this level, but we've got separations of government. You got legislative, executive, judicial. Okay. And in cities, it's legislative and executive. You're not supposed to love each other. You're supposed to do your separate jobs. It's a check and balance. Yeah, if he does the right thing, you support it. If he does the wrong thing, you're supposed to not
shoot it down.
Support it.
Right.
As I said, the legal precedent that I have zillions of clearly state that it's their duty. It's your duty to. Oh, look at this. I always keep my stacks handy here. So let's look at this one again, everybody. What's that say?
From Cornell Law School.
Cornell Law School. Legal Information Institute.
Not that they're credible.
Right. This says, the duty of care requires the directors, who in this case the city council, to inform themselves prior to making a bid of all material available to them. They have to have sufficient opportunity to get all information. And this is the key. This is the key right here. And if you look at paragraph 3, and here's the case site, that's Smith versus Van Gorum about that, those two. But look at this one, Morin versus Household Intern, Inc. Moreover, a director, i.e. city councilor, may not simply accept the information presented. Rather, the director / city councilor, in that case, who's a director of the finances, must assess the information with. And it is, I didn't put this boldface in. This came from Cornell University. It says, with a critical eye. That doesn't mean you accept Bridget Allman saying, we're looking at some investments down the road. It means you've got to get a presentation of the investment portfolios they're looking at, like we do with the retirement board. And this is the problem. He's been allowed to run amok far too long. I mean, this guy is just out of his mind because he believes in the team. I'm on the team, so I get whatever I want. We have to cover up everything. We have to do it. Yeah, well, I can tell you something. It's not anything that makes you think more clearly. Yeah, he read most of it. Yeah, well, there you go. That's Paul. I think, and how many times has he lied just at that press conference? Didn't he say that he did not agree with the investigation, yet we have very reputable people, not one, but three that said they met, and he said he had no problem with having an investigation. Am I correct in that assumption, CJ?
Actually, what he said was, I have no problem with your investigation. I'm just not going to hang my hat on it.
Yeah,
quote,
which is typical Paul. Which is Paul speak for, I don't care what they find, I'm going to do what I want.
That's right.
That's what he means by that. But that sounds more like Paul.
Yeah, none of them read anything altogether. That's why Rumsey keeps thinking we're a type A charter.
I'm surprised he even knows we got a charter.
I
mean, these people are not. He's too busy doing, working his new side gig, being a market rate housing
person. He violated 40C, violated a historic district, lifted the historic preservation on a building so he can make it market rate housing. With all the people in the city fighting against it, and he said, "Fuck you!"
Yeah, I'll tell you, it's crazy, and the city council's got to step up. This guy is totally. He's been a rogue mayor since he got in. Never was transparent. Never was accountable for anything. Hid everything from the people. Yeah, they mentioned the charter, and Paul never has ever kept his word, ever.
No, he hasn't.
It's just
remember the tax breaks. Where were the tax breaks?
Oh yeah.
Remember the promise of debt exclusion we paid off in 8 years. Where's that?
Yeah, we can just keep going.
I can keep going on and on and on.
Yep.
I'm telling you, I'm doing this so much I want to defecate.
Yeah. Well, please, if you're going to defecate, please do it on the 6th floor of the government center.
Exactly.
We should all defecate, go up there.
No, if you remember, I remember when Alphonse dumped trash on the 6th floor government center.
Yeah, I remember that one too. Yeah, it was really funny.
Yes, it was.
But you just, I just got a litany of stuff that we can just keep looking through of his his bullshit promises, and there's another one. I'm just thumbing through things. Remember this one, CJ?
Yeah.
We're just going to keep elevating ourselves to what? All you did was elevate all your friends' salaries. That's all you've done. And that's all you ever do. And now, like I said, you're out of control because you're on your way out. You're going to make sure everybody you get is taken care of, and at the expense of the taxpayers. And it's illegal. Technically, what they're doing is just, like I said, you got to talk to a real lawyer, not these clowns, not these agencies that represent cities and then say, okay, all they are is glorified corporation councils. Because what they do is, as you got found out so vividly, the time they had one opinion for you that fit what you wanted, which I think was the correct opinion. But they also, it was revealed that in another community they were getting paid for, they had an opposite opinion.
Exactly.
That's not the kind of lawyer you need.
That's right.
And now we'll start at the beginning, because every story has a beginning. It hasn't gotten to the end yet, but this is the draft before Paul got into office that I blew up with the telling where he got the money from. Every time I read this, I got to laugh to stop from throwing up. Integrity and a well-run, well-organized city government are the Coogan's administration's highest priorities. This is the foundation on which we can continue to build a clean, safe, and financially sound. Transparency, accountability, and ethical standards will be the foundation of this administration. I mean, not one of those things have been ever part of his administration. You know, I mean, you can just keep going. You know, a well-functioning city is defined by safe, well, not safe, well-maintained streets, clean, vibrant neighborhoods, efficiency of public service. I mean, you read it. Anybody that wants this, I can give you a copy of this. See, this is the problem. I save this stuff because it always comes back. If you don't learn from history, you're doomed to repeat it. And Coogan's got a 6-year history. And now, as a lame duck mayor, he doesn't care anymore. He's not even pretending to care about the taxpayers or any other branch of government. And it's up to us as a people to do something about it. And like I said, I know some very good lawyers, but you got to get somebody who's not a hired, somebody who just represents all kinds of cities and will draft generic opinions, because they're pseudo de facto corporation councils. They're gonna. It's like getting a study. You pay for the study; those studies normally come out the way you want them to come out because you're paying for the study. Well, you need a lawyer with integrity. Actually, there are lawyers like that. I know those lawyers. They will not give you an opinion that they don't believe in. They will not draft an opinion that they feel is not in compliance with the law. They're not going to bend interpretations. That's what ambulance chasers do, not real lawyers. Yeah. That's why these guys make millions of dollars. They're not working for the city of Fall River because they can't make a paycheck. Well, listen, we can agree on one thing, Josh. He's always been lame. So I don't know. And a duck, that might be an insult to ducks anyway. I don't like that. But yeah, you can, David. I can. I'll get one to you. Just you and I will. Give me. We'll either get together or I'll email it to you. Stuff. I can. You know, but it's all, like I said, it's all just bullshit. It's just political horse shit. You know, we're going to have a clean, safe city. We're going to have this and that. Then he went on to do nothing that he promised. So it's like, we don't need, but the only good thing is we have it in writing, because Paul really has the worst case of political amnesia I have ever seen on a human being, because he forgot what he said like 2 minutes ago. He met with 3 people and said, what did CJ say? I'm not going to hang my hat on it, but I don't have a problem with you doing it. Now, all of a sudden, he's got a big problem with you doing it.
That's right.
So,
that's right.
How can you deal with somebody like that?
Hey, I wasn't ignoring you, Chicky. Chicky 711 said on YouTube, LOL. Yes, an opinion.
Yeah, that's right. An opinion. Another
An opinion. Understand it. It's an opinion. It's
Exactly.
not a pronouncement from the mouth.
Yeah, when did Rumsey have the stone tablets carved when he was given that opinion because he just came down from the mount with Moses? I don't know. He thinks he's the Supreme Court. See, that's the difference between those guys and real lawyers. Real lawyers are not afraid to litigate. When you're right, you're right. When I dealt
remember, Fall River lawyers are so good that when they appear in a Boston court, they say, "Oh no, Fall River again! Get the hell out of here!"
That's right. That one's so old. CJ. Actually, I don't have it around my computer anymore. I got it up in the attic with my files. But we had a lawyer say in the newspaper, and it was in a Herald, but it was a reprint of what they said in the Boston papers, that I'm paraphrasing now, but it's pretty close. I'm sick and tired of seeing Fall River in my courtrooms. They never abide by the law. So we are infamous, not famous, infamous. Yeah, well,
it's nice to be delusional, James.
Yeah, well, that's what it's nice to be
delusional. Remember, they're all part of the club.
Because when you're delusional, you think that the lack of reality is reality. We have good lawyers. Why don't they litigate them? Why don't they litigate it? Why don't they litigate every time there's a major litigation? If Rumsey can't settle, he farms it out.
Which he does all the time.
He's not going to court. These lawyers are useless. We should not have a law department.
No.
As a matter, we should have one guy for potholes. That's it. After that,
no, we don't even have a workers' compensation group.
We should have Howiak handles workers' comp. I know he's been handling that for years.
But what I'm saying is, why do we keep hiring more lawyers? For debt?
Yeah.
Dunsey?
So they can come down. Yeah, so they can come down. Howiak's been around for years. But,
yes, I know.
We hire lawyers to give them jobs. That's why. Because they don't do any litigation. They go down to city council and try to bullshit the city council. That's what they do. Yeah, if you didn't read an affidavit, you go to court and you go to a real courtroom, the judge is going to take it and strangle you with it because I'm serious.
I know.
I'm serious. I saw a judge in Boston in a case that we were involved in tell the city of Fall River's attorney when his case was predicated on one sentence, not the full complaint and law. He said, attorney, you cannot take one sentence out of a law, out of context. You have to look at the whole law and the intent of the law. Get out of my courtroom, and we won the case. These people are they're pathetic. They're pathetic. And we need people to run. I mean, we need people to run. But like I said, you've got to remember, if you're going to run in this city, you got to start about a year in advance. You got to start going to neighborhood meetings. You got to begin to build networks and stuff because these people all have some voter base that they did favors for. So you have to really get some name recognition and be known. And the city's ready for a change. As CJ said, the reaction to what's going on is kind of like the reaction we got when we started the recall in earnest. I think the people of Fall River have seen enough. Now Paul's dumb enough to go in front of a camera and show everybody what a total dictator he thinks he is, and what a
No,
big,
you had your
what a whiner.
Shorten that a little bit. Shorten that a little bit. You said dictator. Shorten that.
Yeah, I know.
What a total dick he is.
Yeah, well, we got a guy with no closet as mayor. That's why they picked him. He never did anything in his life except collect a paycheck. Was a teacher that never taught in a classroom, never became a school principal, got his vice principalship and walked around high-fiving the kids and telling the other half to get out of school. You'll never amount to anything.
That's right.
And now they put him in. You know, if you're going to run for office, you're going to be scrutinized, and you know that's just the way it is. But let's see. You know, Buddy Cianci had something in his closet. He got reelected, and he did a good job. But this is outrageous. I mean, I find it. If I didn't know this was reality because it's Fall River, you would not believe this. If anybody writes about this at some point in time and somebody finds this book in a time capsule, they're going to think it was fiction. Stuff like this doesn't happen. You don't have a mayor hiding everything from the public and getting elected 4 times.
Yeah, but you know what? You got to blame where the blame is due. On the people. On the people.
And you also got to blame some of the candidates because they thought they were going to win strictly on name recognition. You got to go out there and do the work. You know, you got to go out there and do the work. If you don't get out there and meet the people, no, you're right, James. He only came back for that express purpose. But once they got him back, they found a jewel. Look at this guy. This guy's like, everybody looks at him and thinks he's harmless. We can get him elected. And he'll promise to be in for 1 term, and then you can't get rid of him. He's like the bubonic plague. So, but it still gets back to what CJ says, the people. Now let the people rise up. They're upset. Let them support the council. Let them support the fact that we need accountability. Listen, I'm not, and I think that the thing that Cliff released about if Coogan really thought there was nothing wrong, he should be totally in favor of an investigation, which is true. It's true. As a wise man once said, the truth never fears investigation. I've still got the headline from the city of Fall River that said that we were broke. We didn't have any money in the healthcare system. And I didn't take their word. I did it with a hand calculator. It said that's impossible because we paid in more than the bills. And then we got a forensic audit. We got somebody from out. We didn't get some Huey, Dewey, and Louie. We got Ernst & Young, one of the best accounting firms. And in that thing, we found out that they had robbed all kinds of our money. And they had to pay us back with interest. And in that arbitration, we had the city's financial team testify under oath, and I have that, court stenographer, verbatim, where the auditor and the treasurer and the person who did the required independent audit annually admitted they never really did an audit. All they did was do a reconciliation and a recreation. They used both of those terms, which means that they made the numbers fit like a puzzle. They didn't corroborate it. And they said, and when our attorney said, why didn't you not do an accurate audit. They said because the books were in such disarray, we could not ever get enough numbers to do it exactly. So they lied. They submitted an audit that was supposed to be an audit that wasn't an audit, and under oath, I was only interested about getting our money back, and but actually, with what happened in that arbitration, they should have put most of them in jail, but they didn't. They stayed on for a while and got pay raises. So, welcome to Fall River. No, of course. Yeah. Well, yeah, I love it with veto. That must have been his word of the day. I'm going to veto. He thinks he's up. Well, that's a very good point. That's a very good point, Fatima. No conflict of interest there.
Never a conflict of interest. Of course. They all got family jobs. They always do. Look at Ann O'Neill Souza. She's a secretary. A glorified secretary. And they just gave her a pay raise of over $100,000. Come on.
Nice gig if you can get it.
Yeah. That position originally was a person banging the mayor. Way back when. Am I wrong? Am I wrong?
No, you're right. Way back. Yep.
Way back when that position was created. That was the old line. It's not what you know, it's who you.
Well, don't give Paul any ideas. He might change all his friends to the janitor's titles to sanitary engineer and give him $100,000 pay raise, because that's what they did with the quote unquote chief of staff. That was right. Secretary's job. They just changed it to chief of staff to justify a pay raise, just like this recent raise I talked about at the beginning of the show, $20,000 pay raise to somebody because they changed the name from whatever to director.
No, they're not going to be custodial. Not going to be custodial engineers. They're going to be custodial directors.
Well, that's even more.
That's right. Custodial directors.
Good one, CJ. You could be a negotiator for Paul.
That's right.
Another one.
Yep. Custodial directors. I like that title. Yeah, we know. We want to know what she's hiding for him. Is she hiding anything from him? I don't know. Allegedly, you never know. Hey. And he's had gone on record and said that they were very close together. They worked very closely together. Just like Tracy Curley worked very closely together, but never recused himself from those issues.
Should have recused himself from the negotiations.
That's right. Don't insult morons that way.
Oh, there you go. But yeah, I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, kudos to maybe. Let's see what happens now. Let's see how this plays out. This is crazy. Let's hope that recall. The weather's breaking, hopefully shortly. And
well, supposedly they're having a kickoff rally on April 12th. I don't know if that's the day they're signing the papers or not. The 10 taxpayers. But April 12th, I believe that's a Sunday, the Sunday after Easter. And we'll see what happens.
Where is it being held?
I don't know. Again, these people don't have their shit together. They have to make this information, put it out clearly. We turned around and we said it was going to be held on this date, at this time, at the Fall River Lodge of Elks. Did we not?
Yes.
The first meeting.
Yeah, and then we signed the papers at the Liberal Club.
At the Liberal Club.
That's right. We had our first organizational meeting when people got together at the Elks, and then we went to the Liberal Club and took videos of the people the 10 people who signed.
Yes, Michelle, that mayor did marry his chief of staff.
Correct. Correctamundo.
That's right.
Yes.
And now that mayor's making almost $400,000 a year, doing God
Where
knows
else? In the education department.
No, he's not doing that anymore. He's now doing something.
What's he in now?
He's now doing something in business promotion or something.
Well, it's just another title. The salary follows them around. He's making $300,000.
I don't think so. Nobody's asked us. We've already had our bite at that apple, and we're done.
I believe, look, as I said, I believed at the beginning he wasn't going to make it through the first half of his term. But you know something? With the outrageous behavior he's displayed lately, I think truly he's become unhinged. And I think that, unfortunately, that he really has to be thrown out. I mean, the people have got to rise up just for the fact of getting the people together again and reminding them the power they can have when they vote. We did it with Flanagan. They need to do it again. They need to get the people of Fall River together to say, look, I don't care if we agree on everything, but we agree on one thing. If these people are going to represent us, they have to represent us.
I guess that's where they're going to be having their kickoff event, 90 Pond Street, Fall River.
And what is nine?
I don't know what 90 Pond Street is, but it's probably a private residence. But I would have done it in a more public place. But, each to their own. Each to their own.
Okay. I will send you that. No, it's a very, very complicated thing. People think it's just about getting signatures on but we have to go to court. We have to go in front of the Board of Elections. We have to get a lawyer. We have to keep. People don't realize we did it. CJ would I would go around on my motorcycle, pick up all the signatures, and I would bring them to CJ. CJ would then bring them to a place where we had people in a kitchen, and we made them three copies of every single petition, so we could have one for us, one for the court, and one for the records. And then they went over all those signatures preemptively to ensure that we would already have flagged any signature that was going to be challenged by the Board of Elections or in court, so we could counter that challenge. So there's a lot of moving parts if you're going to do this right, because if you fail at any one of those parts, you're going to go down. If we went to court and lost, we would have went down. If we would have went in front of the board without a lawyer, well, all those things have to be coordinated. So you need somebody who knows how to, that coordinate. You need to do that stuff. You need to make copies of things. You need to have people. And those people that we had on Birch Street in the kitchen, they did a lot of work, because we got literally hundreds
till midnight. Some nights till midnight, 2 a.m.
That's right. So, that's right. And CJ would then run them down to City Hall with all the
voter registration forms and everything
that we collected, which we also had a list of those, so we could make sure. So it's not as simple as we want to do a recall and we think we should have a recall. They are going to fight it. They're gonna drag you up. You're gonna have all your I's dotted and your T's crossed. Not easy.
It's not an easy task, that's for sure.
But it needs to be done. Get the people together again. But it brought a lot of people together. Look at the recall. We had
Problem is they didn't stay together after it was done. That was the big problem.
You know, that's to be expected. But what they forgot was the power of the people. United we stand, divided we fall. You do not have to have like the same baseball team. You do not have to have the same political ideology. You, as long as you want good government and you have somebody that's not doing their job, you should get together. It's called a force multiplier in the military. You know, there's a great, you know, remember what a wise man once said: the enemy of my enemy is my friend. He doesn't have to be my friend, but he is the enemy of my enemy. We share an enemy. And that enemy are corrupt, incompetent politicians who are not working for us. That's what they forgot. They went their separate ways. Probably we're all responsible. Maybe we should have had a reunion every year or something like that, just to not talk politics or anything, but just celebrate the fact that they all worked hard. You always give credit where credit is due. Those people in that kitchen, like you said, worked till midnight some nights. Guys like Josh and the people that were out there, they were out there every day on weekends.
From 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. From 8 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Well, Scott, you don't need unity. What you need is a force multiplier. You're united for a certain cause. When that cause is gone, I mean, it's like, okay, you don't like the Red Sox, you don't go to Red Sox games. But if you both agree that we need to work together, I said the enemy of my enemy, and that's the key. But what you do is you don't ever forget that you need to come together with people that maybe you don't agree on everything with, but to change the political system. The most contentious debate, some of the most contentious debate that ever took place was in the Continental Congress. When America was created, they literally were at each other's throats fighting over how it should be done. But they got together and they did it. You can't keep everybody together all the time. I mean, you can say we have a common cause. We will reunite to fight the bad politicians, but we don't have to go to this. We don't have to like the same teams. We don't have to have the same ideology, but we have to have something in common about government. It has to work for us. Because remember what Jefferson said: when you allow a government to get so powerful, it can give you everything you want. It can take everything you have.
Well, it's been a great show. I want to thank you all for watching. We will follow this over the weekend, and we'll be back to you on Monday to talk more about the corruption and inept behavior of a foregone, fundamentally foolish mayor and a city council that hopefully is growing a set of balls. I want to thank you for watching, and remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable. We'll see you on Monday. Have a great weekend.